Wedding march. You can kill it. What does that have to do with what we're doing this morning? I tried to pray through how to best present what was happening. If you're not familiar with what is called a believer's baptism, then it looks rather cultish or rather freaky. And many of us come from different religions as children. Some of us were baptized as infants, and if I was baptized as an infant, why do I have to be baptized again? What's the purpose of this change? So the wedding march, I thought, would bring your mind to a place. You've been to a wedding, and a bride and a groom walk down the aisle, usually to a song similar to that. During that time of ceremony, it's when two people proclaim to each other that their love is to the point where they want to spend the rest of their lives together in the commitment of marriage. And then they invite guests to observe. This morning, it's a very similar situation. It's called a baptism celebration. It's a situation where people have come together to say that I want you to know that I've made a commitment to Jesus Christ. Now, when the man and wife or the husband and wife or the bride and groom come up here, that's not the first moment they're deciding to make a commitment. They've made the commitment previously, and this is in a sense a ceremony commemorating it. Today, the young people who are being baptized in this service and then the folks who are being baptized in the next service have made a commitment. And we are excited. We're going to have our young kids come up here so they could observe as well. Because this is big. This is big. Look at them all. So what's taking place this morning is something that was given to us in the Bible. When Jesus Christ left the earth. Wow, we have a lot of kids, don't we? You can fit some over here in the front row if you'd like. Jesus left the earth, and the reason he came to earth was so that he could show us how to develop a relationship with his dad. And when he left, he told those who had a relationship with his Father God, go and make disciples. Baptize them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Help people understand that they can have a relationship with my dad through me. Because I love them so much, I died on the cross so they didn't have to suffer the consequence of their sin. As a result, they now have a relationship with my Father through me. Help people learn. Help people grow. Help people make that commitment. And once they make that commitment, if they're genuinely serious about it, what they'll do is they'll get baptized. There's nothing supernatural in this water. There are some things floating in it, but there's nothing supernatural. In a minute. What happens is we'll take an individual, we'll bring them up, and they'll go into the water, they'll sit. Then they'll go all the way back down under the water, then they'll come back up. When Jesus Christ died on the cross, he was put in a tomb. And in a very real sense, his body died. And 3 days later, he came back to life. And the ceremony that we're partaking of today is an opportunity for these individuals to say that I once lived for my own desires. I once lived to fulfill myself. I once lived with the perspective that life was about me. But I've come to this place where I'm realizing that Jesus Christ is number one. And I want you to know that in a very real sense, I'm kind of dying to myself. I am saying that life is no longer about me. It's about Jesus Christ. Now, some of the folks coming up today are young. And it's like, okay, what do they really know? What happens is when we were children, some of us, again, were baptized as infants. And we really didn't have an opportunity at that point to choose to say, I want a relationship with Jesus Christ. Some of you are familiar with the term arranged marriages, where mom and dad choose the spouse, you put them together, and you're stuck with the person. And in a very real sense, infant baptism is like telling a child, hey, you're connected to God. This baptism is an opportunity for an individual who's able to process mentally, emotionally, and spiritually that I want to be in relationship with God. And today, I want others to show that. See, baptism, the word, is nothing more than dunk or plunge or soak or dip, immerse. That's the definition. That's the definition in the Bible. And it's something on the outside to let people know of your commitment on the inside. It's like that thing on your finger if you're married. Some of us have a wedding ring. And the wedding ring in and of itself is nothing more than a piece of jewelry. But what it represents is an internal commitment that we've made to someone else. So today, you're part of a baptism ceremony. You're here to observe that these individuals coming forward are willing to say, God, I'm fully committed to you for the rest of my life, and I want everyone to know that. See, some of us would say, well, I'm committed to Christ, but I don't need to be baptized. That's like dating and the young lady saying, I wish he would ask me to marry me. I wish he would ask me to marry him. I wish he would ask me. Well, I don't want to make that commitment just in case. So for some, the next step in your walk with Jesus is openly and courageously saying, I want everyone to know that I'm a Christ follower. And it does up the ante a little. Young people getting baptized in this service, you're publicly saying before all of us and before God that you're a Christ follower. You're publicly saying that when you look at me, you can see a person who has sold his heart out or her heart out to following Jesus Christ. See, if we're not willing to let people know that we're believers, if we're not willing to take that next step of obedience on our journey, which is baptism, then we have to question the caliber and the strength of our faith. The caliber and the strength of our faith. See, baptism, it doesn't get you into heaven. I grew up in a time when, and in a religious expression, where if an infant wasn't baptized, there was great fear that that infant didn't go to heaven. Biblically, that's not what it says. That's kind of a man-made ritual. Baptism in and of itself is nothing more kind of like the wedding ring. It's a symbol of an internal commitment. It's a symbol of an internal commitment. Baptism is the public announcement saying that you've trusted in Jesus Christ to get you to heaven. So, it is a step of obedience. It is a step of obedience. It's a place where Jesus says, once you've trusted in me as Savior, let others know. Once you've fallen in love with me, let others know. Once you've come to that place where you're willing to commit the rest of your life to following me, let others know. There's a verse in Matthew. It says, people from Jerusalem, from all over the Jordan Valley, and in fact from every section of Judea, went out to the wilderness to hear him preach. And when they confessed their sins, he baptized them in the Jordan River. He baptized them in the Jordan River. In a very real sense, we have folks who live in Simpson. We have folks who live in Waymart. We have folks who live in Lake Ariel. And these people from all over Waymart and the surrounding communities are coming to this place where they've heard a message of how to follow and love and trust Jesus Christ. And what they've chosen to do is to come out and to publicly say to you and to publicly say to God that I'm committed to you in my heart and in my soul forever. See, people from Waymart and the surrounding communities, from all over Wayne County, and in fact from every section of Pennsylvania, heard preaching and teaching. And when they confessed their sins, they were baptized. And this really goes all over the world. There are probably somewhere in some other churches today, people are saying, hey, I'm a Christ follower. I'm a Christ follower. Some of you in your spirit, you might know way down deep that the next step on your journey is baptism. And maybe you saw it in the bulletin or saw it on Facebook or the website. And you really haven't stepped up to say, yes, it's time. At the end of the service today, if you feel deep in your spirit that today is the day that you're willing to say to others, I am a Christ follower. I am committed, and I want others to know that. Then while the music is playing at the end of the service, I invite you up. We'll have a quick conversation. And during that quick conversation, I'll see if you fully understand what it means to be a Christ follower. And we can baptize you. Well, I don't have a suit. I'd bring clothes. Listen, if you're to the place where you publicly want to proclaim your relationship with Jesus Christ, all those things don't matter. What we're going to do is we have 2 baptisms this service, and we have 4 baptisms the next service. But we want you to hear the stories of each of the individuals who are being baptized. So we're going to share with you the stories of the individuals who are being baptized next service, and then immediately following that, we're going to have the story, the faith story, how they came to faith in Christ, how they grew in faith with Christ, of the 2 individuals being baptized today. So listen up if you will.
My name is Tommy. I like to collect Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I like playing guitar. I like to eat pizza. I have one brother named Timmy, and I have one sister named Sarah. I went to my first time at youth group, which was when Crystal told my mom about it. I want to get baptized because I love God and I want to show the world that I'm His child. Before I started coming to this church, people that I knew at school said that God wasn't real. I didn't believe the people that said that, though. I knew that God loved and cared for people and that He was real. My parents first told me about Jesus dying on the cross. They read the Bible to me, they pray with me. I want my mom and John to baptize me because my mom always cheers me up when I'm feeling sad, and John's really funny. My name is Tommy, and I'm a follower of Jesus Christ.
Hello, my name is Sarah. I like to organize and hang out with my friends. When I was 5, we moved here and I went to R.D. Wilson in 4th grade. I got type 1 diabetes. It was really hard because people would ask what's wrong if I had to go to the nurse after I came back, and I didn't know what I would say. I just said I wasn't feeling good. I learned about Jesus through Crystal and Haley. They talked to my parents about youth group and asking us if we wanted to go. So we went, and we really liked it. I was in the little kids group back then with Katerina, and they just talked about Jesus, and it was really interesting to learn about it. It was last year during communion, and they were singing a song, and my mom asked me if I believed in God and believing that He's my Savior and such. And I said yes. And then me, my mom, and my dad started to cry. And yeah. It changed how I looked at things and how I took things. Like if something went wrong, I would take a few minutes and pray about it, and I would feel better. I want my mom and Gina to baptize me. They've just always been there. So they believed in me, that I can take care of my diabetes and control it. I think my mom and Gina have taught me a lot about Jesus. I am Sarah, and I am a disciple of Jesus Christ.
Hello, my name is Amanda Kissel. My mother had shown me from a very early age what I didn't want to be. She had 7 kids with 3 different men. She had always been promiscuous, even when married to my father. They divorced when I was 4. During the next 10 years of my life, my mother had 4 more kids with 2 different men. These men would beat her, treated her like she was worthless, got her into drugs, and etc. Meanwhile, the whole time these men would physically and mentally abuse me and my little brothers. I remember specifically getting pushed up against a wall and being choked, getting thrown down the basement stairs, getting slapped in the face, being told I was worthless and would never amount to anything in my life because I would forget to do something or couldn't do something good enough or fast enough. My mother would always side with these men all the time. At 14, I suppose my stepfather thought of me as a grown woman. And one night he came home, my mother wasn't there, my grandfather wasn't there. My grandfather lived with me at the time. And I was watching my baby brother. And at the moment he came into my room and tried to rape me. And in those moments I felt like if I run, he's gonna hurt me because he has hurt me in the past. If I stay, you just don't know what to do in those moments. So something inside me just ran. I ran out the door without my shoes. I ran to my friend's house, and I really never turned back from that. I got married at 23, and he was a person that started to abuse me, and the cheating started, and the very last time before I actually got out of the relationship was when my daughter went to the dentist and said, "My daddy choked my mom like Homer Simpson." What do you do? Like in those moments you see what has happened, and you don't want history to repeat itself again. So I had to do something. I always thought, how can there be a God that would allow a person with such a big caring heart like mine to go through so much pain all of her life? My whole life has been unsatisfying, unfulfilling. I have always felt unloved. I began reaching out to people, making plans, looking for jobs, and all while being anxious every step of the way. One of those times was when I reached out to Mark, who is now my husband. He has made an impact in my life. Him and his family, unbelievable. They encouraged me. They showed me compassion. They loved me. And all the while, Mark being patient and kind is something I never really, understood from a male figure. And through that encouragement, I was finally able to break free from all that pain. Mark and I researched churches, and the very first one we found was the Waymart Church. For the first time, I felt at home. Like as a child, I always thought that people made Jesus up, kind of like there's a Santa, and it wasn't until we started coming here that I actually wanted to learn more. I remember the one day being in church, there was a sermon on forgiveness, and I walked out crying. It was just everything that I've been through my whole life, rushing in with all these emotions and just hitting me right there, like, maybe this is what's holding me back. I'm not truly forgiving, and how can I love and say I'm loving and kind to people if I'm not a forgiving person? I'm just holding that grudge. So after that moment, I took the initiative to forgive. Carrie Howe and May Whittington will both be baptizing me. They have both been a big influence. May Whittington she has known me before I came to Jesus. So she understands the kind of life that I grew up in, because we kind of grew up in it together. And Carrie has been just my spiritual rock. I want to get baptized for 3 different reasons. The first being that I wanted to make the decision for myself. I was baptized as a baby in a Catholic church, and when you're baptized as a baby, you don't really understand. Secondly, I want to be baptized because I believe that my story is powerful, and by sharing it, God can use my story to help someone else find Jesus. And thirdly, I want to show my commitment to following Jesus. I no longer want to be interested, I want to be fully committed. My name is Amanda Kissel. I am a disciple of Jesus Christ.
Hi, my name is Mark Kissel. I'd say I'm fairly outgoing. I mean, I'm an introvert by nature, but I tend to force myself to get out there and make friends and talk, so I work a lot. Well, I grew up in Jessup. I had a really good childhood. You know, I had 2 great parents, great sister. I had a lot of friends, some that I'm still friends with today for 25 years. Graduated with high honors from high school. And then once I got to college, I started having some issues with depression and anxiety and things like that. So I struggled a lot in college. I bounced from school to school. Dealing with mental illness is always hard. It makes everyday tasks difficult, makes them some things impossible. I mean, there were days where I didn't come out of my room for a week at a time. You know, you don't eat or eat too much. You sleep all day, you're up all night. And it really just makes living difficult, let alone working and maintaining relationships. And then finally I wound up at Johnson College, and I got my degree in biomedical equipment technology. And then I got an internship at Tobian Army Depot, and I've been there for the past 8 years. I grew up Catholic. I've always had faith. I've always believed. I just never really took it seriously. I was an altar server in grade school, early high school. I participated a lot in the Catholic Church, but probably once later high school and then into college, I distanced myself. I kind of just fell out of touch with that, and I kind of just maintained my own faith on my own. But I never really had a relationship with Christ at all before. I think it was about 1.5 years ago now. My wife's daughter had asked a question when we were at home. She asked who Jesus was, and I realized we were in trouble, like she didn't know. So we made a decision to start looking for a church, and we wound up here at Waymart. And through the course of our premarital counseling, I had realized a lot of hard truths. And I joined a small group and had a lot of good conversations with Isaac and Carrie Howe. And I really came to kind of understand my faith and understand kind of what I was doing wrong and what I should do differently. And that brought me to where I am today. Once I accepted Jesus' leadership, he's really changed everything in my life. You know, I feel like now that I can understand what he wants, you know, and I'm starting to learn more and more about what he wants us to do, how he wants us to be, and what he wants us to do. I feel like my outlook has changed, and the way I do things has changed, and the results are better. And I don't have so much to be anxious over, and even when I do have things that I would have been anxious over before, they don't feel so bad because I can just have faith that God will be there. I want to be baptized because the next step I feel in doing what I'm supposed to do as a good Christian is to take a stand and to show others that, you know, that I believe and that I want to help others believe. And this is my commitment to God and my commitment to everyone else that I can help. I'll be baptized by Pastor Sal. he had a very big influence in opening my eyes to what I did and what I've been doing, and he really helped introduce me to who God really is, and he helped change my life. He changed my whole relationship with my wife, so I'll be baptized by Pastor Sal. My name is Mark Kissel, and I'm a disciple of Jesus Christ.
Hi, I'm Thomas. I like Pokemon cards and building things that have Lego bricks and Lego blocks. And I like to play. I'm playful, fun, and I have autism and ADHD, so certain things set me off. People at the church I used to go to. One thing I remember from there is the wages of sin is death, but the gift of God is eternal life like Jesus, our Lord. When I was at a person's house I knew, that's when I let Jesus into my heart. Jesus is an eternal life if you believe in him. My mom got a message from somebody, I forgot their name, but we started coming here probably about couple months ago or two, I forget it. The kids here actually say goodbye. Goodbye to me. I want to get baptized because I want to show everyone I believe in Jesus. I'm Thomas and I'm a disciple of Jesus Christ.
Wow. Some powerful stories, eh? It's interesting. The stories you just saw, none of these people are perfect. None of these people are not going to make mistakes after today. What they've done is they're saying to their God and to each of us that I am a follower of Christ. I had a great privilege of watching Tommy and Sarah grow over the last couple of years, and you can see in the stories that they share that there's a love for Jesus. Mark and Amanda's story, Mark and Amanda got married in August, and Amanda hasn't seen her mom since she was 14, give or take. And it's a hard journey. And I want to thank you, the church, because many of you have walked with some of these people, made them feel welcome, made them feel loved. And right now we have the privilege of having Thomas come up. Come on up, Thomas. This is an exciting day because today, before each one of you and before God, this young man is making a commitment. And so often when we do a wedding, we'll have one spouse or one future spouse say, I do, and the other one will say, I do. And what I try to do in my wedding ceremonies is have both spouses look at each other and say, I can't. I can't. Because if you're married, you know you can't. There's no way to have a marriage relationship that really pleases God without his help. And today, this young man is saying, God, I do, but I can't. I can't do this without you, God. Thomas, you're up here today, right? Did anybody force you to come up here? You're here all because you want to be up here, right? Come over here for me. Go ahead. Can you swing one foot over? Isn't that nice and warm? Just so you know, it was 107 degrees this morning, so we had to go buy bags of ice to cool it down. Turn this way. And go ahead and sit right down for me. Oh, you stay right there for a minute, and I'll drop you down. That way we can still see you. Thomas, it is my privilege, here, look at me. It's my privilege to baptize you in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Yeah. Come this way, Thomas, right over here. Come straight forward. We look forward to seeing what God does in your life, and we look forward to being part of that. Go ahead, Mr. Joe. Mr. Joe will help you down. Go ahead down. And if you want to sit right in the pew if you want, or you can go downstairs with Mom. Okay, go ahead and watch this next story if you would.
Hello, my name is Eric Beam. My hobbies would be, I guess, playing video games, and I really like to swim and just do stuff outdoors. Pets-wise, I guess I have fish, lizard, chickens, cat, turtle. I'd say the most difficult thing I've had to deal with was the death of my brother. Everyone's just a lot more like, I want to say like more emotional and stuff, and I guess a lot more now protective over me and stuff. Because it seems made me see like life in a new way, I guess, because, you know, I suppose like, I guess you think about like more about like how people like feel, because you wouldn't want them like doing, you know, the same thing that he did. I guess he grew. I guess that's where my story began. And then I guess it escalated when I went to Canaan Christian Academy. I mean, I went to church when I used to go to like Western Wayne, but then like I never really knew about God, and obviously I was taught about like evolution and stuff. But then when I went to Canaan, I started going to youth group. You know, I got more in depth with God, and I learned, you know, who He was and what He did. It was the first year of Canaan that was really hard, because like didn't have like a lot of friends, and like you know, the work was a lot harder, and I just didn't understand. You know, I think the most influential people on my journey have been Steve Wagner and just Pastor Sal, and just a couple of teachers out of Canaan. They just pretty much taught me about God, and they taught me what it meant to be a believer, and especially at Canaan, you know, they taught me the differences between the worldly thoughts and Christian thoughts. Just a lot of people will say like, oh, you know, I got this feeling, and then they believed in God and stuff, but like I just wasn't getting that feeling. I guess when I truly got saved, probably about a week ago with Pastor Sal. I mean, it was just like the fact that I thought you had to have like this feeling, but apparently you just need to know that He was real and that He died for us, for our sins, and that's all you need. Since I've become a believer, I do want to live more for God. I mean, I have been reading more into the Bible, and, you know, reading devotional books. And I think before I knew what you needed to do, it's just now that I've become a Christian, I guess, and a believer of God, that I'm just trying my best now to live it. I'm Eric Beam, and I'm a disciple of Christ.
This morning, Eric is requesting that Pastor Steve baptize him. Where is Eric? I forgot. Eric, come on up. Pastor Steve, come on up. It's been exciting to get to know Eric over the last 4 or 5 years, give or take. And it is unfortunate our relationship began in a very difficult way. It was at the loss of his brother. But we have seen God do great things in Eric's life. And I'll let Pastor Steve share if he'd like anything else. Thomas and Eric will be over yonder. You can say hello to them. I'm going to ask the worship team to come up at this point.